Tonight, a special edition of the CBS Evening News from the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee.
I hereby call this session to order.
What to expect as the GOP tries to rally around unity. What we're learning about when one-time rival Nikki Haley was invited to speak. And the breaking news about an Iranian plot to kill Donald Trump. We now know security was stepped up around the former president even before the assassination attempt over the weekend. How's your family? Plus our interview with the former president's son, Eric Trump.
This is millimeters away from your brain, and I think that puts life into perspective.
The CBS Evening News starts now. Breaking news tonight, CBS News has learned the Secret Service had actually amped up security for Donald Trump before Saturday's rally when he was shot due to an assassination plot by Iran. Good evening, I'm Norah O'Donnell in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Thank you for being with us. The former president has had additional protection starting last month because of intelligence about that plot, one we're told is separate from Saturday's shooting, but still somehow that gunman was able to take a clear shot at Donald Trump, hitting his right ear. Now that ear covered with a white bandage as he came into the arena here at the Republican National Convention to roaring cheers. His call for unity will be on display on night 2 of this convention, with former rival Nikki Haley taking center stage. We have team coverage of all the developments here in Milwaukee, but tonight CBS's Meg Oliver will start us off from Butler, Pennsylvania, with new reporting about the Iranian plot.
CBS News has learned information from a human source along with Iranian chatter picked up by intelligence officials worried them enough to increase former President Trump's security last month. There's been an ongoing threat to assassinate Trump since he ordered a U.S. drone strike that killed Qasem Soleimani, the head of Iran's powerful Quds force. There is no known connection between Iran and the assassination attempt over the weekend, where the U.S. Secret Service faces increasing scrutiny. A local law enforcement officer tells CBS News 3 snipers from a local tactical team were inside the building where the shooter fired from. One of the snipers saw Thomas Matthew Crooks outside on 3 separate occasions, observing the building's roof, then returning with a rangefinder, an instrument routinely used by marksmen to determine the distance of a target. At that point, the sniper snapped a picture of him 26 minutes before the shooting occurred and radioed the command center. Crooks briefly disappeared, returning moments later with a backpack. The sniper called for backup, but by the time officers responded, the gunman was already positioned on the roof.
Next thing you know, I thought it was a backpack or something, and then I seen what I knew was a gun, a machine gun.
Moments later, shots rang out. And this new video shows the Secret Service sniper team that neutralized the shooter with a single shot. U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle took responsibility for the security failure.
The buck stops with me. It was unacceptable, and it's something that shouldn't happen again.
The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI have issued a bulletin to law enforcement nationwide warning that violent extremists could try to retaliate at election events over the next few months. Nora?
An important new bulletin. Meg Oliver, thank you so much. Back here in Milwaukee, the energy is high, the music loud on this night 2 of the Republican National Convention. The theme tonight is Make America Safe once again. CBS's Robert Costa reports the night's biggest highlight could be the return of Nikki Haley.
Day 2 of the Republican National Convention began with a walkthrough by the upbeat vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance ahead of the Ohio senator's acceptance speech. But one-time Trump rival Nikki Haley is getting ready to deliver a high-profile speech, making unity, however uneasy it might be, the unofficial theme of Day 2. Even as Republicans rally around Trump in the wake of last weekend's assassination attempt, tensions nonetheless remain from the primary where Haley challenged Trump and hit him hard.
Chaos follows him. You know I'm right. Chaos follows him.
All those things that he's saying is a lie.
He's not what he was in 2016. He has declined. That's a fact.
Sources say Haley's invite came only in recent days, as Trump and his advisors tried to stitch together the party. Delegates here seemed ready to welcome her into the fold.
The party wants her to speak, and she's willing to speak, and President Trump has certainly invited her. Then that's fine with me.
I think she's going to bring the women, though.
I think that, what you're seeing here is that they unite at the end of the day.
Trump critics say it's opposition to President Biden that is bringing Republicans together.
Why isn't the anti-Trump wing of the Republican Party holding a bit more firm and resisting the temptation to endorse?
Well, the answer is because we saw Joe Biden in the alternative in the debate, and he showed weakness, and no one wants a weak president.
All this comes as Trump is also getting an enormous fundraising boost, including tens of millions reportedly pledged by billionaire Elon Musk. And as Trump works to win over independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whom he spoke with by phone this week about the shooting.
Something like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito. And it was the bullet going around. What do they call that, an AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
Former Ambassador Haley is not the only story here tonight. There will be also a big spotlight on Republican Senate candidates across the country, as well as on the issues of crime and immigration. Nora.
Robert Costa, thank you very much. A short time ago, we spoke with the former president's son, Eric Trump, who says it's been a scary 72 hours for his family. I asked him about his father's health and the injury to his right ear.
He says it's the greatest earache in the history of earaches, but that can be imagined. It's crazy. You see the picture, right? The famous New York Times picture now, where you literally see the vapor trail of the bullet coming out of the backside of his ear. It's hard to believe. It could have been so much different. I can't even imagine what that would have meant for this country.
Is he having trouble hearing? Like, what else can you say about his health?
No, his ear hurts, and he's lucky. It was a bad skin, wound, but no, he's in great spirits.
We also learned just a short time ago of an Iranian plot to assassinate your father, that officials in the White House did alert the Secret Service about that. What do you know about that?
Yeah. Well, this is what I know. I know it's not all that new. We've been hearing this from Iran, including from the leaders directly for years at this point. I'm sure they have credible intel. Obviously, Soleimani and al-Baghdadi, my father killed them because they were trying to create nuclear weapons and, create terror all over the world and kill our service members all over the world. Let's just say the Iranians don't like Donald Trump.
Since the Saturday attack, how much has security been increased?
Yeah. Well, let Secret Service talk to that. But I will say, and something that's really important to me, the men and women on that stage in that moment are the greatest people in the world. I know many of them personally, and they're phenomenal individuals, and I'm sure they'll get to the bottom of it, but there better be real accountability. You can't have ex-presidents taking bullets through the ear.
We're learning so many new details about the investigation, that there was a sniper team in that building, that the gunman was spotted by, supporters of Donald Trump who were there. They tried to alert local authorities. When you hear about those warnings, what do you think?
It makes me infuriated.
Infuriated.
It's infuriating. I grew up competing in the shooting sports. I know that world very, very well. And a rifle shot at 130 yards is like a 4-inch putt, right? You don't miss it if you're competent. I really do believe by the I'm not an overly mushy person. You probably know that about me, but somebody was watching down on him because it could have gone very, very differently. But it's hard to believe a big building that size, 130 yards away from a podium, from an elevated position. You don't need to be a security expert to realize that you might want to have somebody up there.
CBS is set to host the vice presidential debate.
That's exciting.
Kamala Harris versus J.D. Vance. Will you encourage J.D. Vance to accept that proposal? And what do you expect from that debate?
I think J.D. Vance will be, putting a bag of popcorn in the microwave, and he's ready to go. Believe me, he's not going to be backing away from that debate. That much I can tell you.
Eric Trump, thank you very much. And we'll update you on the details of that debate. And now, with Republicans in the spotlight here in Milwaukee, President Biden is on the campaign trail in Las Vegas, reaching out to Black and Latino voters, first by delivering remarks at the National Convention for the NAACP, where he praised his vice president.
And by the way, She's not only a great vice president, she could be president of the United States.
Earlier, the president sat down with journalist Ed Gordon for an interview with BET News. Gordon asked the president if there is anything, including family members, that would make him reevaluate staying in the race.
If I had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem. But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate. And look, when I originally ran, you may remember it, I said I was going to be a transitional candidate. And I thought that I'd be able to move from this, just pass it on to someone else. But I didn't anticipate things getting so divided. And quite frankly, I think the only thing age brings a little bit of wisdom. And I think I've demonstrated that I know how to get things done for the country, in spite of the fact that we were told we couldn't get it done. But there's more to do, and I'm reluctant to walk away from that.
Let me ask you about reproductive rights. You've had your vice president out front on that. Talking about the long game, people will say that there's an example of Democrats not playing the long game well, that conservatives have been saying they're going to get rid of this for years now, and they got it. You've said that you will restore it. How can you be assured that you'll be able to do that?
The Supreme Court did it. Trump appointed the Supreme Court with the express purpose of doing it. So that's the way it works.
They're still going to have the majority, no matter if you win or lose.
Well, there's going to probably be 2 more appointments to the court. There's probably 2 people going to retire. Just imagine if he has 2 more appointments on that, what that means forever.
Really interesting. You're hearing the president mention the Supreme Court. You have some new reporting on a proposal that President Biden is set to unveil.
That's right. CBS News has learned that he is working on a series of changes to the Supreme Court that he would ask Congress to make, including possibly term limits for the justices. It's designed to motivate and excite his progressive base, who's not happy with their recent decisions and with the behavior of the justices. And this news comes as we've learned today of another letter circulating among some House Democrats concerned that his campaign's trying to rush through his nomination and have it confirmed virtually before they meet next month in August in Chicago.
I also noticed something different from the president in his answer to Ed Gordon about age. What did you see?
He's got a sharper, more succinct answer now. And it's trying to explain why 4 years ago he said he'd be a transitional figure and try to usher in the next generation. What he's saying is, country's in worse shape than I thought. Give me a little more time to implement my plans. And he's trying to shift to substance. This decision or this idea on the Supreme Court, changes to the cost of rent and other issues like that. The idea being that as voters start paying more and more attention over the summer, they might hear something they like and then vote for him.
All right, Ed O'Keefe with those new details. Thank you so much. And you can see the full unedited interview, Black America Votes, the Biden interview, on Wednesday at 10 p.m. on BET. Tonight, there are renewed calls for U.S. Senator Bob Menendez to resign after he was found guilty today on all charges at his corruption trial in New York. A jury convicted the once powerful New Jersey senator of accepting bribes of gold and cash and acting as a foreign agent. We get details from CBS's Nicole Killian.
New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez emerged from federal court undeterred after he was found guilty on all counts in a federal corruption scheme.
I have never violated my public oath. I have never been anything but a patriot of my country.
The 3-term Democratic senator was convicted on 16 charges, including wire fraud, bribery, extortion, obstruction of justice, and acting as a foreign agent. They carry potential penalties of more than 200 years behind bars. Federal prosecutors say Menendez wielded his political influence to help the governments of Egypt and Qatar, accepting bribes that included nearly $500,000 in cash and gold bars, a Mercedes, and other luxury gifts.
This wasn't politics as usual. This was politics for profit.
Immediately after the verdict, calls crescendoed for Menendez to step down. From New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Congressman Andy Kim is challenging Menendez for his Senate seat.
It absolutely makes sense that he not only resigns, but that he doesn't appear on the ballot.
Some lawmakers say if Menendez doesn't resign, he should be expelled. That's a process that hasn't happened in the Senate since the Civil War. Senator Menendez is scheduled to be sentenced in late October. Nora?
Yeah, that's why this is such a big deal. Nicole Killian, thank you so much. Eye on America is next, following the speech by the Teamsters president here at the Republican National Convention. We're going to take a look at the growing support nationwide for unions and those who are leading the charge. One of the most talked about speeches here last night was the keynote. Teamsters President Sean O'Brien addressed the RNC, railing against big business, in his words, waging a war against American workers. Support for unions is rising, and you may be surprised who's leading the charge. Here's CBS's Janet Shamlian with tonight's Eye on America.
You want to get a better benefit and a pension plan.
Juan and Diego Quintanilla are sheet metal workers campaigning near their job site in Richmond, Texas.
We're offering better pay, better benefits.
Not for a candidate, for an organization. They want to unionize.
If you belong to the union, they're going to take money out of your paycheck.
Yeah, but the benefits that we're going to get, it makes up for way more than what they're going to take.
The 19 and 23-year-old brothers are lobbying these tradespeople to vote yes.
What is it about your generation that's more interested in unions?
We seem to really care about fairness and like equality in the workplace. We all kind of want to get paid a good amount of money for the work that we're putting in.
Support for organized labor, polls indicate, is at a high not seen since the 1960s. Strongest among Generation Z, people in their teens and 20s.
Unions have been out of favor for decades. 20% of workers belonged to one in 1983. But by 2020, that number had fallen by half. Even as membership drops, union support is rising. 71% of Americans approve of them.
Unions had a difficult time making inroads in the South.
University of Texas Associate Professor Adam Cobb has studied unions.
Why do you think a lot of young people are so supportive of unions right now?
We see a really heavy concentration of power among big corporations and the elites that run them. And unions are a counterbalance to the strength of corporate power on the one hand and sort of shift some of that power to workers.
This is our shop.
Sheet metal worker Amber Sage Oliver is part of that young and new to the workplace group. Oliver estimates the same work in a non-union shop would pay at least $200 a week less.
Currently, I'm making about $33 an hour, so that's pretty good in comparison to people who just got out of college or university.
I don't buy the overall trend.
Erin Davis Valdez is a former teacher. She says the teachers union let her down, motivating her to get into public policy to oppose them.
If you look at rates of unionization over time, they've either remained flat or gone way down. So I don't view this as an overall long-term trend.
So do you think this is misguided loyalty on the part of Gen Zs?
I think what will happen is they will be disappointed by what unions promise versus what they deliver.
That argument is just noise for the Quintanilla brothers.
So you guys are sold on unions. You're all in.
100%. We're all in.
A brotherhood that subscribes to the saying, in union, there is strength. For Eye on America, Janet Shamlian, Richmond, Texas.
We'll be right back. As we cover the Republican National Convention here, we do want to take a moment to remember one of our own, longtime CBS News correspondent Tom Fenton. He served as an officer in the U.S. Navy, later joining CBS News in Rome in 1970. Fenton led several CBS News bureaus around the world, covering major events, including the Iran hostage crisis in 1979 and the first Gulf War. Tom Fenton was 94 years old. Our coverage of the Republican National Convention will start in just a moment right here on CBS and our streaming channels CBS News 24/7. I'm Nora O'Donnell in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. See you in a minute.